Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, yours truly, Jimmie Williams again, back with video number 4 and my new 10-part series, Making Money, or the top 10 ways to make money in the real estate industry. This is going to be very powerful. I want you to take a pen and a piece of paper, sit down, one of these with your pen. Let's get right into this, okay? Again, I always like to start off by saying, keep on pushing hard toward your dreams and pushing high, set your standards high, keep your integrity high, and your character, okay? Because those are the things that you always have to have no matter what's going on in business. And I want you to know that my wife and I, from me and her to you, we believe in you. We know you can do this. There's things that you have to do. There's certain principles that you have to follow, and you have to just straight up grind and have something that I call stick ability. It's a word that I made up. It's the ability to stick to something long enough until it begins to manifest and bring things into your life, substance back into your life, okay? Just like when you're boiling some spaghetti, you take the noodles out, you throw it against the wall, and if it doesn't stick, it's not ready yet. You have to put it back in the oven and let it cook a little bit, put it back in the water, let it boil a little bit more. But when it's ready, it will stick to the wall. Well, that's the same thing with us. We need training, we need coaching, we need mentoring, we need a plan of action. We need to put together some strategies to win. You may have the vision, but you don't have the strategy yet. And when you put all those things together, if you jump out prematurely and try to make something stick, it will fall. You go back to the drawing table again, mix it up a little bit, let it cook a little bit longer, pay the price for certain things, because certain things you have to pay the price for, and then you throw it against whatever you're trying, and it sticks. For me, it was 50 different companies and 45 different jobs, I'm close to 100 things that I tried in my life that did not stick. But I had stickability, so eventually something had to stick. And training and helping you guys is one of the main things that stuck for me. So with that being said, I had to just encourage you before I get into this, because it's a lot of information I'm going to be giving you, all right? Let's get into it. Let's keep it very simple and get to the point. You need to understand the top 10 strategies of making money in real estate today. You guys have been bugging me and saying, Jimmie, let's talk more about real estate, okay? Because when you met me 2 years ago, most of you came into my circle, into my conglomerate, my Facebook group, and my YouTube page for more mentorship on real estate. And let's get into this. I'm happy about it. Let's recap, okay? Before I recap, if you're on YouTube, look down there, little red button, subscribe right next to it, little bell, click on the bell for notifications. If you're on Facebook, Instagram, and all those, you guys want to look in the description, click on the link. You're going to look to my right, my left, your right, and subscribe, right? Let's go. Let's recap. Number 1, I talked about double closings. Number 2, I talked about Airbnb. Number 3, I talked about wholesaling, all right? And that was with single family properties. Today, I'm going to be talking about wholesaling with multifamily properties, all right? i.e. hotels, i.e. What I really like to talk about is more portfolios and stuff like that, i.e. apartment complexes, condos, and real estate development, things of that nature, okay? There are ways to wholesale all of what I just named, and I'm going to kind of go over it now. And the main thing I want you to understand about wholesaling multifamily is 2 things. It's a different methodology than wholesaling single family, and the profits are much, much higher on one single transaction. I'm gonna talk about the transactions, what kind of money can really be made in just a moment. But before I do that, let me recap something I did not mention in video number 3 about wholesaling. I talked a little bit about it, but I wanna make sure it's clear as I go into video number 4. So wholesaling single family is generally you bring in the buyer and seller together, and the way you do that is with what we call an assignable contract. Let me say that again, because guys, if you're in the industry, you know what I'm talking about. But you have a ton of newbies that do not know. So what I'm going to do is, if you contact me, I will give you a free 2-part series on a series I made, a video I made like 2 years ago. It's a 2-part series on becoming a wholesaler. So the major difference is with single family, you put together an assignable contract. So basically, you find a seller who's selling a property and say, hey, listen, I want to sign a contract with you to bring you a buyer. So they sign the contract with you. Let's say the property's worth $300,000. They want to sell it for $300,000, right? You put the property in the contract with them for let's say you put on the contract for $300,000 with them. You go out and you find a good buyer over here. The buyer says, okay, well, the property's worth $300,000, but I'll pay you $210. I'll pay you $310 for it. Because again, you are the wholesaler. You're trying to make a profit on this deal. So you go back and say, okay, well, if you let me assign it to you for 310. You got a deal. This person says, heck yeah, I like the deal. I'll pay an extra 10K for it. I really, really like it. Well, this person over here is happy because at closing, he or she gets his $300,000. He or she gets their $300,000. At closing, this person walks away with the property. They pay $310 for it. In the middle, you make the $10,000 difference. That's how wholesaling works. It might vary sometimes. I mean, you got to negotiate. You're a negotiator. You're a middleman working, a middle female working, male or female, whoever you are in the middle. You're doing all this work to bring the deal together, but you have to make something. That's wholesaling 101 for single family. Here's the difference in multifamily. When you're doing multifamily properties, hotels, motels, apartment complexes, condos, and stuff like that, the contracts are different. You're not going to sign an assignable contract when you do a multifamily property. Here is the methodology. Here's how it works. You go out, you find a really good property, multifamily deal, okay, hotel. You go and put your buyer in place. But the first thing you have to do is you have to make sure that when you get this property, you start working with the seller, you make sure they cannot circumvent you and go directly to the buyer. So there's a couple of different contracts you have to put together, all right? And the pay structure is different. You have to sign a non-circumvent agreement, an NDNC, with the seller / fee agreement. I said that wrong because you're going to do the fee agreement on the buyer side. On the seller side, you sign a non-compete, non-circumvent agreement so they cannot go around you. Say, hey, listen, I'm going to bring you a buyer, and I want you to sign this contract, letting me know that you're not going to go around me or my company or the people that are involved. Sometimes you have more than one wholesaler involved. For this, let's just do an example here. Let's say this is a $100 million Four Seasons hotel in Miami, $100 million property. They're happy because now, they don't really have a broker involved. They don't want to go the broker route. They found someone like you to do the work for them. Broker involved or not, it's a $100 million deal. But for the sake of time, let's do no broker. I'm the middle guy. They sign this deal with me. I go out. Well, they signed the non-circumvent with me so I can start working. I go out and I find a group over here, whether it's an individual or a syndicate, or another company to buy it. This is the most important part of the contract. This is the most important contract, bar none. I sign a contract with them, an NDA / fee agreement, or an NDNC / fee agreement, which means they tell me on paper that they're not going to run around me and go to the seller. The / fee agreement guarantees that I make my percentage when the deal is done. Normally that fee is 3%. Sometimes they'll say, we'll pay you 1.5. You got to get the seller to pay the other 1.5. I don't see that very often, but for the sake of time, let's say 3 points. That's industry average for getting a back end fee on a multifamily deal worth $100 million. So you do the math on that. If I go out and I find this group over here, they're going to pay me $3 million once that deal is done. You do the math on it, okay? $100 million Four Seasons hotel. They buy it for $100 million. They're going to pay me. They're going to cut me a check at closing, or my company, my LLC, my company, a check for $3 million at closing. That's one heck of a deal. Now, there are times that, if you can't do it all by yourself, you may want to, figure out a way to bring it, because I have certain brokers that I have in certain parts of the country. I may bring one of my brokers in for Remax or there's another good one I like, Century 21, there's a couple other ones. I bring in these guys to help me put this deal together, and once that end buyer signs that 3% fee, if they're open to it, we can all split that $3 million. So if there's 3 of us on the deal, we split it all. We all make $1 million at closing. Pardon me. If you get because see, sometimes you have real estate brokers. Something in my throat there. I'm okay now. Sometimes real estate brokers, they get greedy. I hate to say that, but that's the terminology I have to use. They want 6 points, and that's why a lot of times these buyers and sellers don't want to work with them on bigger deals. So if that greed steps in, they want 6 and they want 3 and 3, and that it would hurt. And then they got to pay me for bringing the deal together. That's another 3%. The seller and buyer will back off sometimes. So you have to find. Here's where I'm going with this. You have to find wholesaler friendly brokers. I know quite a few of them. You want to work with them. You got to work together because they can help you. They can help you find buyers and sellers, and they can help structure the deal where there's no scamming at the end. Because there have been times where the seller and buyer say, nope, I'm not cutting you a check just to put the deal together. Even though it's on paper, you got to take them to court. So you bring these people in to help get the deal done faster. That's part of mentorship that, I had to learn the hard way, right? Let's say that you can't find those kind of people. You can find other good wholesalers that know what they're doing. They go and make sure all the paperwork's right on this side, on that side, and you generally come together and have one spokesperson. So when you sign the non-circumvent fee agreement with them, you put together something called the sub-fee agreement. What that means is they have to make sure you have to make sure that all three of you guys get paid, men or women, whoever it is. So the sub-fee agreement says, okay, JW Acquisitions and Development LLC gets $1 million. So-and-so LLC gets $1 million. Joe Blow over here gets $1 million. So it's all in writing on the sub-fee agreement. When they disperse that $3 million back-end fee, all three parties involved gets their equal cut. And you make $1 million on one single transaction. People keep saying, that's not possible. It's possible. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it done. I got to share this story with you guys just so you know. There's a lot of bad things that can happen and things can fall apart on a big deal like that. Okay, and so here's a stern warning to people who are daisy chaining big deals. You guys, if you know what daisy chaining, what it is, I talked about it in the last videos. When everybody's coming together, there's too many people on a deal. Everybody wants to talk and then some people, you got to go 4 and 5 people before you get to the seller and 4 or 5 people before you get to the buyer. Some daisy chains can work. You can have 10 people on a deal because if it's $3 million and you got 10 people in the middle, you all still make $300,000. But what happens is, and this happened to me, the wrong people start opening their mouth, speaking, instead of being quiet, signing the contract, signing the sub-fee agreement, get your $300,000, just wait for the $300,000 and just walk away. Well, they want to talk to certain people. They want to call the seller and call the seller's rep. Sometimes you have the seller's rep, seller's co-rep, and all these people, and it gets so much confusion in there, the deal falls apart. Well, that's what happened to me quite some time ago, and I didn't sleep for a long, long time. This was an $85 million deal. I talk about this all the time because I'm trying to give you guys a stern warning of what not to do in multifamily real estate. This deal was worth like $85 million. It was 3 big properties, one in Dallas, one in Houston, one in Austin, by the same owner. And we had been working on this deal for like 2 months. We were getting down to the closing. My mentor, he was the one that brought the property to me because, he knows a lot of these sellers. He said, Jimmie, this is a big deal. We're going to make a lot of money on this deal. I forget how many people were in the middle, but me and him, I was going to make $600,000 by myself. I was going to make $600,000, and that would have been my first multifamily property at that time. Well, I went out and I found a go-getter. She was really, really good, and she was dealing with the buyer. She went and brought the buyer on. So I was trying to tell her, listen, let's all sign the non-circumvent / fee agreement together. Let's do the sub-fee agreement. Let's sign everything, and let's find a way to keep the buyer and the seller happy until closing. What you generally do is, when you sign those contracts, you supposedly you should get out of the way. That's what my mentor told me. He said, get out of the way, Jimmie. Don't do any talking. Let them work with their attorney to attorney, and let the deal close, or from buyer to buyer, buyer to seller. And let them communicate with the bank, from bank to bank, however they want to do it. Let them communicate with each other now that the documents are signed. Well, we didn't do that. The young lady I brought on kept saying something, and some confusion got started. She started an argument with the person on the seller side, on the buyer side. The buyer started saying to her, we're going to cut you guys out. We're not going to pay you, which the documents were already signed. So by law, they had to pay us. The deal went up in smoke. We lost that deal. I didn't sleep, guys, for about a month or 2 because we were right there at the closing. So stern warning, the daisy chaining, egos, they can work, but you got to put the egos to the side, have one spokesperson when everybody signs the contract. I keep saying this because that one deal taught me that lesson. You need one person that knows what they're doing to talk. And if possible, that person doesn't need to talk when you put the buyer and seller together. Let them communicate and work out the deal. Too much, ego and too much mouth will cost you a lot of money. All right? So that's how you make $1 million on a deal. I just explained that to you. That's the way to do it. Bring them together, sign the non-circumvent / fee agreement, let them talk, work the deal out, have a few people on the deal with you if you want. If it's just you, you make $3 million. If you have 2 more people, you make $1 million, okay? And that's a big chunk of change on one wholesale deal. That's wholesaling a multifamily property. You can do this the same methodology if you're going to buy like I said, hotel, motels, apartment complexes, portfolios, that have multi-family, tons of property on them. They're all making money. Let me just share this one last thing with you guys, and I'm going to go. Pardon me. I'm not sure if you knew this, guys, but about a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, there was a property in New York City that was for sale. It was about 7 buildings. Guess what it was? It was the World Trade Center, and it was like 7 or 8 buildings. It was a package. Okay? All of those buildings that were built with the one World Trade Center and all that was for sale for $21 billion. One of my mentors, guys, back at the time, before he left and he started his own private money company, he knew the seller on that property. He said, Jimmie, can you find me a buyer for this deal? And I went at it. And one of the mistakes that I made was I started dealing with other people who did not know the industry. They started daisy chaining the deal. $21 billion, okay? And we found a potential buyer, and it was a syndicate. It was a Chinese group of Chinese guys who had the money to buy it. Can you believe that? They just built the World Trade Center a few years ago, and it was already for sale, $21 billion. And these guys came in, and we could never close the deal. We got close. Something happened with the vetting process, because it's a big vetting process when you're buying properties of that magnitude. But can you imagine? My mentor, okay, this guy is awesome. He's out of I think he's out of some part of Florida, South Florida, somewhere in there. One of those areas, but he's doing very well for himself now because he started his own private money company. He's doing very well. But this guy was a mastermind. He knew how to go out and find the best deals and get direct access. He was a real estate broker for 30 years, so he knew people who had deals that did not want their properties on the market. He put this deal together. I sent it over to someone else. We just could not close it at the end. Something went belly up. But the mistake I made was I didn't wait to find more mature people to help me find the right buyers for it. You can't help when the buyer backs out. But I felt on the buyer side, I could have done a better job. If I knew what I knew now and could have the opportunity again, I would jump at it right now. Do you know we would have made over $600 million collectively on that deal? Do the math on it. 3% on $1 billion is $30 million, right? 3% on $100 billion is how much? $300 million. 3% on 20 billion. Think about that. 3% on 20 billion is 600 million. Well, the property was, all those properties together was 21 billion. So you're looking at $600+ million that would have been split among about 8 people. We would have made over $60 to $70 million a piece. I mean, that would have been a retirement move, right? But thank the Most High I didn't do it, because I probably wouldn't be here teaching you. I'd probably be traveling the world or something, right? But because of purpose, I believe other things were working where that deal did not happen. However, it would be nice, because my wife and I know what we would do with the money. We would help you guys and do some bigger things to expand things around the world, but it just didn't happen. This is an amazing way to make quick cash in the millions. Like I said in the last video, I don't recommend you doing it for a lifestyle, because you're not building wealth. You're making cash flow. You're making quick cash in spurts. Cash flow is a monthly thing. And that's where, buying property, owning it, making residual income, that's the monthly cash flow. But this is big chunks of cash fast. Okay, you can do this. Follow the methods I told you. Most important document, NDA/fee agreement, to make sure you get paid and they don't run around you. On the seller side, NDA, NDNC, that they don't cut you out and go directly to the other guy on the other side and they start working together without you. Okay? I hope you got something out of this. I really like talking about this one, because I know for a fact some of you out there, you're going, man, I'm doing wholesaling, but I'm not making big enough deals. Well, go out and find $1 million hotel deal and find a buyer for it. You'll make 30 grand on that one deal, $30,000. Okay? You do that 10 times in a year, that's $300,000 you'll make. Wholesaling multifamily property. Let's get this money, okay? I want y'all to get it, and you'll change lives at the same time. Have a great day. See you at the top or on video number 5. Bye-bye.